Hey guys, welcome back to my channel. And if you are a newcomer, thank you for coming through. And if you want to, please hit the subscribe button and the notification bell. And please like this video. And please share this video. Okay, so today I'm going to do something new. Fauci did an interview over the weekend with many places. This particular one is with ABC News with a reporter named Jonathan Karl. So I wanted to kind of use some of the clips and answer or respond to some of the things he's saying. Not that he'll ever see this video, but just to show how like they talk in meaningless words and they kind of just sprinkle little items here and there but not give the full information. Okay, so let's get started.
Dr. Fauci, thank you for being here. I want to start with that number, that just almost incomprehensible number, 700,000 people who have died just in the United States from the pandemic. How did we get here? Did so many have to die?
Well, this is the most formidable virus, John. It is really, from the very beginning has evolved to the point where we're now dealing with this Delta variant, which is an extraordinary virus in the sense, the same virus is still SARS-CoV-2, except that it has a capability of transmitting extraordinarily efficiency. There are certain elements about this that were just unavoidable in the sense that there are going to be deaths. There are going to be a lot of infections globally, no matter what anyone did. But there were situations where we could have done better and we can do better. And I think we're living through that right now, John, because we now have, within our capability, highly effective and safe vaccines. And although we've done well in the sense that we now have 55% of the population fully vaccinated, 64% having received at least one dose, but there are 70 million people who are eligible to be vaccinated who have not gotten vaccinated.
Okay, so we see the first part, Jonathan asks him about, the number, how that's such a big number, and could this have been avoided? And so Fauci answers there's a few things I want to touch on a couple things about what he said. Number one, always remember that the number being 700,000 is, you can't really go by that number because a lot of these, the data was skewed. A lot of people died with COVID, not from COVID. A lot of things, it was like, if you were assumed to have COVID, the doctors could put it on the death certificate. So we don't know really what the number is of the people who actually died of COVID, okay? Even if it was one, let's just make that clear. If it was one person who died, a life is a life, and a life is very important, okay? So I don't want to minimize that in any way. The second thing that I want to touch on is him saying, we know this jab is highly effective and safe. They know that it's not. Number one, they know that as far as efficacy, like I've always said, means that it's just doing something inside the body, like that it's just reacting. That's number one. But if effective, well, they already know that the jab wanes off starting in 10 weeks, okay? I think they said by 10 weeks, you're 50% less protected, okay? So it's not highly effective in that way. And if it was, why are you pushing boosters? Okay. And then also when he talks about safety, it's so easy for somebody like him to just come out and say, well, we know the jab is highly effective and safe. Safe is such a word that is just thrown around now like it's, like just a cushion. Safe. Number one, VAERS is so backed up that it's showing like 15,000 people have died and all kinds of other adverse reactions and everything. And VAERS can't even keep up with everything that's coming up. It's not already known to be a safe jab, especially when you have people from the FDA who are saying that, like, from the FDA panels, they're saying like a lot of this is killing more people than it's actually helping. I put a link to an article with the FDA meeting being exposed. A lot of doctors were saying we can't prove the safetiness of these vaccines and we need your help, basically trying to prove it. because people are realizing that there's a lot of things that are happening to them. Also, not to mention, there's a lot of stories we're not allowed to talk about. I mean, me making this video, it may not stay on as long as I hope. It may not, they may take it off. I don't know. So, because we're not allowed to talk about very simple things, we should be able to talk about if somebody got hurt from a jab, any jab, or anything else. You should be able to say, hey, this is happening, and what should we do about it in order for people to get jabs? I'm not saying everything has to be 100% safe, but we're not even discussing what's going on out here as far as side effects, okay? So, like I said, too, me making this video, I'm taking a chance. So that's why if you guys subscribe and you like and you share this video, then the information, it can get out there, right? Okay. All right, so let's move on to our next question from Jonathan Carl to Dr. Fauci.
We also have this apparent breakthrough that Merck announced, this new treatment that seems to be able to cut down hospitalizations and severe illness in half. How big a deal is this new treatment?
It's a big deal, John. I mean, you have now a small molecule drug that can be given orally, and the results of the trial that were just announced yesterday and the day before are really quite impressive.
And is that potentially something that would make the vaccine not necessary?
Oh, absolutely not. That's such a false narrative if someone says, well, now you have a drug. Remember, the easiest way to stay out of the hospital and not die is don't get infected.
And I mean, I'm coming back to you guys, and you can see the disdain in my face. This guy makes me sick when he talks. The easiest way to what did he say? Stay out the hospital is don't get infected, and not die is don't get infected. Like, in what world is that even? You want to talk about unattainable goals? Like, don't get infected. That's all it's been about. Don't get infected. Okay. Anyway, so of course he is talking about, so Merck has put out, or they're going to put out through EUA, some pill that's supposed to help with COVID-19. Now, I'm not going to sit here and talk about the pill just yet, because I'm going to make a video on it, because I'm starting to do my research on this pill, because the narrative is coming out there. Mainstream is saying, well, this looks like something that could be like the Iver-M drug. I can't say certain names. If you just know what I'm talking about, if you don't, you do know. So, of course, that Iver drug gets a lot of course, backlash from mainstream media, but it really is a good drug that works. But all of a sudden, mainstream media is saying, like, oh, that pill that the Merck is making, it kind of reminds me, people are saying it reminds them of Iver. It's called Molnupiravir. I'll be able to say it better with the next video that I make about it. But it is an antiviral. It is not like Iver from what I'm seeing. So I'm going to have to do more research, but I would definitely not push it that it sounds like it's Iver, because it'll make people want to actually use it. And I don't know, I have to do my research on that. But you hear how fast he says, because the guy asked the question, like, well, if we got a pill, shouldn't we be able to, just go ahead and, we don't need the vaccine, right? Like, people are going to be thinking that. It's, of course not. Like, no. And that's the thing, no, you still need the jab. And why he says that is because one of the clauses that Pfizer made with the many countries is that even if a cure came out for said infection or whatever disease, even if a cure came out like 100%, like we know, boom, this will take it away, you still have to push our vaccines. You still, based on the fact that you ordered this certain amount, there's no returns. So you just need to push it. That's part of the deal. So he'll never say, no, yeah, you're right. Yeah, it could help, where people don't need to get the jab. He'll never say that. These people are, he'll never say that. So, and I put a link to the article that talks about a few things that are in the deal that Pfizer made with all these other countries. And then, of course, like I said, just don't get infected. Yeah, that's been the motto of public health for the past 2 years. We'll talk about that a little bit more at the end. All right, let's get to the next question.
And let me ask you about this new announcement from Governor Newsom in California, a mandate for students, all eligible students, to get the vaccine. And there's no out here. He's not allowing testing as an alternative. Do you favor that, or should testing be an alternative for those that don't want their kids to take this vaccine?
You know, John, I have been and I still am in favor of these kinds of mandates. You can make some exceptions to them, but in general, people look at this like this is something novel and new, when in fact, throughout, years and years, decades, we have made it a requirement for children to get into schools to get different types of vaccines, measles, mumps, rubella, and others. So when people treat this as something novel and terrible, it isn't. A requirement for children to come to school to be vaccinated with certain vaccines is not something new. It's been around for a very long time.
Honest to God, I am so sick of that example always being given, like, oh, everybody has something to say about mandates, but we've been mandating MMRs and polio and all that, and that argument is so lazy. It is so lazy. It is, because then I have the very easy response. But this is still a new jab that's really still under experiment, and we're mandating it, and we don't know everything about it. Very simple. And trust me, the other ones got issues with them too, but that's a whole nother story. But yes, you're right. You haven't seen people like taken to the streets over MMRs and polio jabs and all that. But this thing is brand new and it's still being experimented on. There's that easy response. But Jonathan does ask the next question that covers what I just said. So he did actually, finally, somebody asked the next question. So let's listen to that.
What do you say to those that say, though, this is such a new vaccine that they're reluctant, they want to, for their young children, they just feel, obviously the other vaccines are required, but there have been decades of experience with those vaccines, and they're hesitant. What do you say to them? How do you reassure them?
Well, John, a couple of things. First of all, our Food and Drug Administration, before they allow something to be given to anyone, it has to be proved to be safe and effective. They are very meticulous in their examination of the data. In addition, John, this vaccine has been given to hundreds of millions of people. So when you say it's a new vaccine, well, when you have a new vaccine that's been given to 10, 15, 20, 30,000, 100,000 people, you're talking about hundreds and hundreds of millions of people throughout the world. So although it is, quote, new, there is a lot of experience with this vaccine.
So you see, Jonathan wasn't lazy. At least he did ask. A lot of people are saying that this is a new jab, so that's why they're reluctant. So I did appreciate him for asking that, even though he's just, whatever Fauci says to him, he's just going to be like, okay, great. But so Fauci starts the answer with the FDA is going to make sure they're going to check XYZ and make sure it's safe to be put out. Yeah, they do that, but Pfizer skews with the data, and let's also be clear that there's a lot of things that the FDA is seeing that we're not allowed to see. And also, to make an example, for the booster, and I put a link about that too in this video, what I'm about to say. For the booster, the FDA is saying like there wasn't enough, candidates for the trial. So for the boosters, there was trials to see if it was safe enough and effective enough to give boosters, okay? And so when you think of a trial, you want to think of like maybe there's going to be like thousands of people in a trial. There's 306 people in a trial for the booster, 306. And then they only followed through for 2 months with, I think, like 7% of the people who were in that trial, okay? That they did decline that. It was a 16-2. They said no. Then they re-asked the question, and the CDC stepped in. So now people can get boosters who are 65 and older. And if you're 16 to 64 and you have a high-risk job, which anything can be high-risk, exposure to COVID, then you can get a booster. That's pretty much just still saying everybody can get a booster. So there's that, okay? Then, secondly, what did he say? He's good. He's good. But yeah, it's new. And if we've only given it to like a few thousand people, like, yeah, I get it. But, we've given it to millions and millions and millions of people. So we have experience with it. We have experience because we've been giving it to millions and millions of people. Just because you do something millions and millions of times doesn't mean that you're doing it right or it's the right thing to do. Okay? I'm sure there are millions and millions of drug addicts. That doesn't mean it's the right thing to do. That is the example I'm using. I'm not trying to attack any group of people. Don't tell me that you've done something a whole bunch of times and act like, oh, okay, but they've done it a whole bunch of times. So I'm good with that. You people are not transparent with anything about this jab. You're not. You will shut down whole channels over people asking questions about this jab. So don't make it, just because you're doing it millions of times doesn't mean that it's the right thing, doesn't mean that nothing else is happening, like coming out of it as far as negative things. It doesn't mean a lot of things. They answer these questions at complete surface level. And so he asked one last question, and so let's see what that is.
All right, last question, Dr. Fauci. There has been some good news. It looks like infections are down dramatically over the last couple of weeks. Deaths are still on the rise. That's obviously a lagging indicator. Is it possible that we are finally beginning to turn the corner on this pandemic?
We certainly are turning the corner on this particular surge, John, but we have experience over now close to 20 months of surges that go up and then come down and then go back up again. The way to keep it down, to make that turnaround continue to go down, is to do what we mentioned. Get people vaccinated. When you have 70 million people in the country who are eligible to be vaccinated, who are not yet vaccinated, that's the danger zone right there. So it's within our capability to make sure that that turnaround that we're seeing, that very favorable and optimistic turnaround, continues to go down and doesn't do what we've seen multiple times before, where it goes down and then it comes back up. We can do that merely by getting vaccinated.
All right, Dr. Fauci, thank you for joining us.
And so for our final question, poor Jonathan, he just wants to go back to normal. He just wants to feel like he wants to feel safe. Yes, because that has been the operative word in this whole situation, safe, okay? So Fauci says, and when he asked the question, Fauci's like, yeah, it looks like this surge is going down. He still can't tell him, like, yeah, we are turning the corner. He's, this surge, it looks like it's going down. But the only way that we're going to beat this is to, merely get vaccinated. He is lying through his teeth, okay? He is lying through his annoying New York accent. He's a liar. The thing is with this, you want to reach herd immunity, okay? So herd immunity means that everybody will get, or a big group of people would have said infection, recover, or whatever's going to happen, and then the virus gets a chance to kind of go through and do what it needs to do, and then people build up their immunities, and then that's what makes the virus less lethal. They know that the natural immunity would work with that, but when you're giving a jab that's leaky, people are taking a jab, and they are saying, CDC has said, they know, the jab won't protect you from contracting SARS-CoV-2 and spreading SARS-CoV-2. So how will you ever reach herd immunity? We're just going to keep passing along the same thing here. Everybody's getting a shot, and then we passing along the virus, and then, by the way, it's mutating on the way, too, because we gave a weak jab during a pandemic. We mass vaccinated a bunch of people who already had immunity, too, by the way. And so that is not going to stop this pandemic at all. It's not. So for him to say, yeah, this will be over, we just merely need to get jabbed, that's not true. Because I'm old enough to remember, first of all, last year when they said 2 weeks to slow the spread. And 2 weeks to slow the spread has turned into get jabbed or don't be able to feed your children. What happened? Okay? We are coming now to the conclusion of my video. And that's where I want to kind of end this right here by saying, yes, what happened? Look at this guy when he talks. He's so cynical. He cannot. Another interview asked him from another Face the Nation or whatever. They said, are we going to be able to have gatherings for Christmas? It's too soon to tell. He said the same thing last year. If I was waiting for Fauci so I can go have dinner with my family for whatever, and I'm waiting for you to tell me when it's okay, absolutely not. No, we would never see each other. These people really expect us to just stay home and don't do anything and get jabbed up. By the way, they don't even tell the jab that they can go do fun things. No, we are all under the same parameters, all of us, because they know the jab it's not, you still can catch and spread it. Okay? So that's the problem. 2 weeks to slow the spread turned into we're taking over your life, period. Let me just say, it was never going to work, that 2 weeks to slow the spread thing, because that's not how viruses work. And you have mandates. Newsom is so hyped, he's already mandating it on children, and it's not even approved yet, but he's like, I'm going to do one step ahead. I'm going to mandate it for children. And then, when it's approved, your kids better get it. And there are no exceptions. A jab has turned this nation upside down. I've watched some of my old videos from last month, just last month. And I was talking about just healthcare workers, being affected. It's gone to where if you got a business of 100 people and you don't got your people jabbed, like the federal government is going to, get involved with that. And, they got bills coming out saying for each unjabbed person, you get $700,000 fine. It's part of the $3.5 trillion Biden Build Back Better America, Crush America plan that he has. That's in there. This has turned into something that's not helping people for real. And so it makes you wonder, well, what is this all for? What is this all for? I never thought that New York would turn into a war zone where replace the nurses with military servicemen. Thank you for serving, but National Guard, whatever. Nobody wants to go to a hospital and see a bunch of uniformed people. Bus drivers, police, firefighters. This thing affects everybody. This jab. And then I love the people who took it who will say, oh, you got to get it. Those of you who are quitting, y'all just selfish and, hey, good riddance anyway. Get ready and see all that good riddance and all that. It affects everything. And it is not about, the unjabbed is selfish. No. You should not want to, if you make a choice to take a medicine and try it out or whatever, that is your choice. You have every right to do that. But you should not be forced to put something inside your body that you don't trust and that you don't feel like you're going to get any benefit from, especially when you already have antibodies. It is just that simple, okay? So definitely wanted to answer just a few things. That these lies, I see them all day long. All these lies, all this propaganda. It is a shame, but I wanted to kind of decode all of that, what he was saying. I got more videos that'll be coming. And I also left a little, so the resource is a sample letter from vivalebarnes.locals.com. He is a lawyer, and this letter is an exemption letter that was written by another lawyer. And that lawyer wrote like an awesome letter. It's not just religious. I mean, they go into the scientifics of it. They go into the law, the Nuremberg Code, the everything. So I left the link. If anybody needs that exemption, as of right now, New York, you still have a religious exemption, but y'all governor is working hard to get rid of that. So just as an example, something, if you guys need it, it's on the description, okay? I want to thank you guys for joining me. If you made it this far into the video, which I'm sure this video is definitely a lot longer than I wanted it to be, but I really wanted to answer those questions. So if you have made it this far, that means that you like what you saw. There's more to come, and you always like it. So continue to subscribe. Please please comment. The more you guys do stuff like that, it does help with the algorithm. And the reason why I do find it important to do that is because I do want these kind of messages to get out there. I'm not trying to tell people what to do, but we should know, we should be able to have a dialogue, especially about something that's important. So thank you again, and I'll be talking to you guys real soon. All right, bye.